Hey, Chani Moniker, developmental audiologist here. That means I help you facilitate development and optimal learning. Let's address the pink elephant first. You may be wondering why a developmental audiologist is talking about parenting rather than hearing and listening, like most audiology channels. Great question. I'm on a mission to make the learning process easier. As someone who is trained to deal with the hearing impaired, I was taught to focus on listening as a communicative relationship between listener and speaker. Each one has their role and responsibility for successful communication. It occurred to me that education, at its core, is a communicative event with a speaker and a listener. In this situation, we want the educator to be the main speaker and the student the listener. I help improve the education process by doing assessments at the Hearing Kids Clinic to see how well the listener's physiological function, their body, serves them to listen. And I do parent and teacher trainings to help these educators be better speakers by providing an understanding of their audience, the individual student who is not understanding what the educator is trying to communicate. Let's imagine, if you will, that you were speaking to somebody who's British, but didn't know it because they adopted the American accent so well. The subtle language differences would make for some very interesting, unexpected outcomes, and you wouldn't know why or how you need to adjust without learning this person is really British, or Australian, or African, right? There are actually a lot of countries that learn English, but with subtle differences. And if we don't have the expected cues, we don't know how to fix the problem. Well, if you aren't getting the results you expect when educating your child, be it as a parent or a teacher, then something is getting lost in translation. My trainings are to help you recognize these cues, these red flags, so you know where to look and what to look for. So let's get started here by looking at what expectations you have and what knowledge and beliefs you have about parenting and child development. So are ear infections simply a common rite of childhood that are outgrown? Your choices were true, like teething, they aren't a big deal. False, they just don't hurt as you grow older. Or they are common, but can wreak havoc. And the answer is they are common, but can wreak havoc on development. Here's a little experiment. Listen to this video on speaker instead of through earbuds or a headset. Now put your fingers in your ears and listen to the rest of this video. Go ahead, I'll wait. What you'll notice is that even with the support of being familiar with the language and having the advantage of knowing the context of this conversation, the topic, and maybe even taking advantage of the captioning to support what you are hearing with visually reading the words, this is still more tiring than listening without the minimal hearing loss you now have from your fingers in your ears. And you've only been listening this way for a couple of minutes. Now imagine your child with fluid in his ears. The hearing loss may be greater. He doesn't have the language base you have, often may not know the context of the conversation, and cannot remove the hearing loss after a couple of minutes like you will do right now. So go ahead, remove your fingers. Notice how much easier it is to listen now. Notice how tiring it was for you to have listened with that minimal loss. So it's time to rethink how we look at middle ear fluid. Whether it's an infection or not, developmental impact is huge.